Let me ask you something powerful right from the start. What happens when the kindest, most patient person you know finally reaches their breaking point? We often think of empaths, the deeply caring souls who feel other people's emotions so strongly, as gentle, forgiving, and endlessly understanding. And that's true most of the time. But here's what narcissists get dangerously wrong. They mistake that kindness for weakness. For years, the empath may try to soothe, to fix, to forgive the narcissist's behavior. They believe deep down that love and compassion can heal even the darkest of wounds. But there comes a moment, a final straw, where something shifts. And when that shift happens, when an empath says, "Enough is enough," the narcissist is blindsided. Suddenly, the very person they thought they could control becomes their greatest threat. Carl Jung once said that when the shadow is ignored, it only grows stronger. But when faced, it becomes a source of unimaginable power. This is exactly what happens when a fed-up empath awakens. They stop absorbing abuse, and instead, they channel that same sensitivity into strength. And here's the twist. This transformation is far more dangerous to the narcissist than they ever imagined. So stay with me until the very end of this video, because we're going to unpack why a fed-up empath is not just strong, they are unstoppable. And if you haven't already, hit subscribe right now for more psychology insights and empowering wisdom inspired by Carl Jung. It's no accident that empaths and narcissists often find each other. They're drawn together like magnets, but for all the wrong reasons. Narcissists crave control, admiration, and someone who will validate their fragile ego. Empaths, on the other hand, crave connection, depth, and the chance to truly understand and heal others. On the surface, it looks like a perfect match. One gives endlessly, and the other takes without limit. But here's the trap. The narcissist sees the empath's compassion not as a gift, but as fuel. Every act of forgiveness, every second chance, every late-night pep talk becomes proof in the narcissist's mind that they can keep doing whatever they want. The empath believes that if they just love harder, if they just hold on longer, they can fix the narcissist's wounds. Carl Jung would describe this as a collision of shadows. The narcissist projects their emptiness outward, forcing others to carry the weight of what they can't face within themselves. And the empath, with their wide-open heart, unknowingly absorbs that shadow, believing it's their job to carry it. But here's the suspense. What happens when the empath's patience finally runs out? When the constant giving drains them dry? When they realize that no amount of love will ever be enough for the narcissist? That's the moment the story changes. Because a fed-up empath doesn't just walk away quietly, they rise. And in that rising, they become more powerful than the narcissist ever dreamed. Stay tuned, because in the next section, I'll show you the exact signs that an empath is reaching that breaking point, and why that moment terrifies the narcissist. And remember, if you're finding this helpful, don't forget to hit subscribe so you never miss these Jung-inspired insights. Let's walk through the story that so many empaths know too well. At first, the relationship feels magical. The narcissist showers the empath with charm, attention, and what looks like love. The empath feels seen and valued in a way that almost feels too good to be true. And, of course, it is, because soon the cycle begins. Slowly, the warmth turns cold. Gaslighting sneaks in. The empath is told they're too sensitive, overreacting, or imagining things. Their generosity is twisted into weakness. Their love becomes a weapon used against them. And when the empath finally starts asking questions, when they sense something isn't right, the narcissist punishes them with silence, blame, or even outright discard. This cycle repeats again and again. Idealize, devalue, discard. Each time, the empath hopes it'll be different. Each time they forgive. But with every loop, something inside begins to shift. The body grows tired. The mind grows weary. The heart, once so open, begins to ache with truth. And then one day, the breaking point arrives. But here's the beautiful twist. It isn't a breakdown. It's an awakening. The empath sees the pattern clearly for the first time. They no longer feel guilty for protecting themselves. They no longer believe they must sacrifice their soul to keep someone else happy. Instead, They realize that walking away is not cruelty. It's survival, it's strength, it's wholeness. Carl Jung would call this individuation, the process of becoming whole. It's a moment the empath claims their identity back from the shadows of manipulation. And when this happens, the narcissist has no idea what they're up against. Stay with me, because next we'll uncover exactly why a fed-up empath is far more dangerous to a narcissist than they ever imagined. And if this is resonating with you, hit subscribe. You won't want to miss the next part. Here's the part narcissists never see coming. The empath's greatest strength was never their ability to give. It's their awareness, their deep emotional intelligence, their ability to notice subtleties, to sense patterns, to read unspoken truths. And once they've had enough, that awareness flips like a switch. Suddenly, the very traits the narcissist used to exploit become the empath's shield. The silent treatment, once painful, now looks pathetic. The guilt trips, once effective, now expose the narcissist's emptiness. The manipulative charm no longer dazzles. It reeks of desperation. Jung taught that once the shadow is faced, projection loses its power. And that's exactly what happens here. The narcissist can no longer project their darkness onto the empath, because the empath refuses to absorb it. Instead, the empath recognizes, this isn't my burden, this is theirs. And that's what makes a fed-up empath so dangerous, not because they seek revenge, but because they become untouchable. The narcissist's favorite weapon has always been confusion. Keep the empath doubting themselves, and control is guaranteed. But when the empath finally sees clearly, that weapon crumbles. Imagine it like this. The narcissist swings their sword of manipulation, but now it strikes against armor it can't pierce. Every trick, every smear, every cruel silence, it all bounces back. The empath doesn't just survive it. They grow stronger through it. And that terrifies the narcissist, because they've lost the one thing they crave most, control. The empath no longer reacts, no longer explains, no longer bends. Instead, they rise free and fearless. This is why a fed-up empath is more dangerous than the narcissist ever knew. Because once awakened, their strength is quiet, unshakable, and unstoppable. Keep watching, because in the next section, I'll reveal how this transformation actually flips the power dynamic, and why the narcissist starts to panic the moment they sense they're losing grip. And don't forget to subscribe, because you'll want to hear the full story of this incredible shift. Carl Jung believed that every human being carries a shadow, the parts of ourselves we often suppress, deny, or hide. For an empath, that shadow is usually made up of anger, boundaries, and the deep truth of self-worth. Why? Because empaths are conditioned to always put others first, to forgive endlessly, and to silence their own needs for the sake of harmony. But here's where the story changes. When the empath finally gets fed up, something powerful happens. The shadow awakens. All those buried qualities, anger, clarity, and self-protection, rise to the surface. And instead of destroying them, these qualities transform the empath into a stronger, more balanced version of themselves. This doesn't mean the empath becomes cruel or narcissistic. Far from it. It means they become whole. They stop fearing their own strength. They embrace their right to say no. They realize that setting boundaries doesn't make them unkind. It makes them authentic. Jung would say this is integration, the process of bringing the hidden shadow into the light. And it's exactly why a fed-up empath becomes so powerful. The narcissist expects the empath to stay soft, forgiving, and endlessly pliable. But now, instead of passivity, they meet assertiveness. Instead of silence, they meet clarity. The empath becomes a mirror, reflecting back everything the narcissist has tried to avoid in themselves, the emptiness, the insecurity, the lies. And that mirror is unbearable, because it shows the narcissist not the fantasy they want to live in, but the truth they've spent their whole life running from. Stay with me, because in the next part, I'll show you how narcissists react once they realize their grip on the empath has completely slipped away. And if you haven't already, subscribe now, because the best part of this story is still ahead. So what happens when the narcissist realizes the empath is no longer under their spell? Panic. Sheer panic. For the narcissist, control isn't just a preference, it's survival. And when that control is gone, they go into overdrive. They try everything in their arsenal. Smear campaigns begin. They start whispering lies to friends, family, coworkers. Suddenly, the empath is painted as crazy, selfish, or toxic. They pull out guilt trips. After everything I've done for you, this is how you treat me? They even flip the script and play the victim, hoping the empath will feel pity and come rushing back. But here's the twist. None of it works anymore. Because once the empath awakens, they stop feeding the narcissist game. They don't argue with lies. They don't chase after approval. They don't waste energy proving their innocence. Instead, they live calmly and authentically, letting truth speak louder than any smear campaign ever could. Imagine the narcissist throwing darts into the air, but every dart falls harmlessly to the ground. That's what it feels like when their tricks no longer land. The silence of the empath, once seen as weakness, now becomes their greatest power. Jung would say this is individuation, the process of standing fully in your own identity, unshaken by the projections of others. The empath no longer accepts the narcissist shadow as their own. They recognize it, reflect it, and release it. And that right there is what makes a fed-up empath truly unstoppable. They're not controlled by lies. They're not defined by blame. And they're no longer hooked by guilt. They're free. In the next section, we'll flip this even further. Because believe it or not, the narcissist panic is actually a gift for the empath. Subscribe if you haven't yet, because this part may change how you see your entire journey. Here's something most people miss. When the narcissist launches their final dirty trick, it's not a sign of their strength. It's a sign of their loss. Think about it. If someone still had control over you, why would they waste time spinning lies, spreading rumors, or trying to poison others against you? They wouldn't need to. The only reason they resort to smear campaigns and desperate tactics is because they know, deep down, that they've already lost you. And that's the hidden gift. Their attack is the clearest proof that you've grown stronger. It means you've stepped out of their control. It means you've stopped feeding them with your energy. It means you've finally taken back your power. Carl Jung taught that the moment we face the shadow, transformation begins. And in this situation, the narcissist smear is nothing more than a shadow play. They're throwing their darkness outward, hoping you'll carry it for them. But if you see it clearly for what it is, desperation, not truth, you realize their lies cannot define you. In fact, their words become a mirror, reflecting their own emptiness back at them. While they're busy telling stories, you're busy living your truth. And in the long run, truth always wins. So instead of seeing their smear as an attack, see it as a badge of honor. It shows you've awakened. It shows you're no longer trapped. It shows you are freer and stronger than they ever believed you could be. And that realization, that's your victory. Let's step back for a moment and connect all the dots. Narcissists thrive on control. The moment you start setting boundaries, seeing through their games, and walking in your strength, they panic. That's when they pull out their last dirty trick. The smear campaign. Lies, rumors, manipulation. It's their desperate attempt to win back the control they've already lost. But through Jung's insight, we see this clearly. Their smear isn't power, it's projection. It's their shadow, their weakness, their inability to face themselves. And the fact that you become the target doesn't mean you failed. It means you've grown beyond their reach. Your resilience, your clarity, your refusal to play their game is proof of strength. And remember this, their story about you can only live in words. Your story, your truth, lives in action, in peace, in authenticity. That is something no rumor can ever erase. So if you've reached this point in your own journey, take heart. You are not just surviving, you are thriving. And if this message resonates with you, subscribe right now, because there are so many more insights from Jung that can help you see your own power more clearly. Because in the end, when their lies get louder, it's only because your truth has become undeniable. If you're listening to this right now and you're an empath who feels fed up, I want you to take a deep breath and realize something. You are so much stronger than you give yourself credit for. For so long, you've been carrying other people's pain, forgiving when it hurt, and hoping love could heal what only self-awareness ever could. But the very fact that you've reached your limit means you're not weak, you're awakening. Your power isn't in fighting the narcissist blow for blow. Your power is in reclaiming yourself, your boundaries, your peace, your joy. That's the strength they never saw coming. because it doesn't scream, it doesn't chase, it doesn't beg. It simply is. Carl Jung reminds us that true growth happens when we integrate our shadow, when we embrace every part of who we are without shame. And that's what you're doing now, standing in wholeness, free from their projections. If this message spoke to you, make sure you subscribe right now. There are so many more Jung-inspired insights here to guide you on your journey of healing and empowerment. And remember this, when the empath's heart hardens with wisdom, no narcissist can ever hold them again.